Hello everyone and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another 24/7 news report with me, Callum. Getting straight into things, the big breaking news of today comes from the Newcastle Chronicle and comes from Lee Ryder. Newcastle have pulled out of the race to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which also means that Minteh will not be joining Everton. Sky Sports have also reported that Calvert-Lewin, the pursuit for Calvert-Lewin is over, and yeah, I'm quite surprised at how quickly this has ended. The rumours are mainly it's because of the price tag, the around £40 million that we want for him. But yeah, at the same time, it's the same situation as Branthwaite. I understand that we had a player in Minteh who has a lot of promising qualities. But again, I mentioned it in the video the other day that I filmed a video that I think Matt filmed literally yesterday about this whole Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Minteh little PSR deal with Newcastle. The same thing we did with Villa for Timur Robinham and Dobbin, really. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing, but at the same time, I'm not really bothered. I've looking at the strikers we've got linked to possibly replace Calvert-Lewin. Nothing that fills me with excitement. It would be nice to have a young, exciting player, and we will get over some of the news quickly now that was reported yesterday before the news came out this morning. Minteh did inform Newcastle of his priority, that Everton were his priority. His desire was to stay in the Premier League, and we were the favourite destination. That comes from Fabrizio Romano. And the Mail reported that we had bid £30 million for him, with Brighton also discussing an offer. But yeah, now it's all in the bin, really. Yeah, I don't think it's that bad for us. I think we've got a few decent wingers coming in with some of the links with, of course, that we've linked with, and we'll get on to some of them later on in this video. But yeah, I don't think it's really the end of the world. I think it's one of those where it's, oh no, maybe we'll go back in for Minteh later in the window. There is a possibility if we get some more money, get the Onana money, and maybe then you could see us maybe go back into someone like Minteh. But yeah, I think it's one of those where he was an exciting young prospect, and I think he could have performed well in Dyche's system. But I think keeping Calvert-Lewin is more important with everything he can offer. And if we're not going to get the money we want for him, then we shouldn't be selling him. I think it's as simple as that. I think the only problem is, of course, his contract, and it would be better to lose him on a transfer fee than for a free. But I could easily see that 40 million dropping to 30, 35, to be honest. I think it's just a negotiation thing. And I do think Newcastle are probably just testing out other targets first. There is also always the possibility that this deal ends up circling back around. So I wouldn't really be surprised to see it circle back around, to be honest. But the Mail also reported that AC Milan and Manchester United are interested in Calvert-Lewin. Chelsea showed tentative interest but are looking elsewhere. Okay, I can't see AC Milan paying the 40 million that we want, and I don't really want to do any negotiations with Manchester United because it's just going to be another case of not offering us the money we think he's worth and wasting our time. But are the club also going to be tentative now to negotiate with Man United after that? I think doing anything with Man United now is just a waste of time, to be honest, because they're not going to pay us what they want unless they could maybe offer us a player from their ranks that we'd like in as a replacement. But we also are currently running a poll on the Toffee Blues about, are you happy to see Calvert-Lewin's move to Newcastle break down? There's currently 1,150 votes, and as I said, it is still live on the Twitter at Everton newsfeed. So it was, are you happy to see DCL's move to Newcastle break down? 42% said yes, 31% said they don't, they're in the middle, and 27% said no. Which I think it's an interesting one. It's probably about what I expected, because again, I think Dom's still a player who, I think he's still got a lot to prove. I think he's started showing those signs of improvement at the end of last season, what he can do with consistent minutes, what he can do in build-up. I think, again, he can offer a lot to this Everton team, but I can also see a section of the fans who are like, yeah, for £40 million, we should be wanting to take that straight away. But I think it's one of those where, with Dom, we'll have to see where it goes. Because, again, there is always the chance that Everton kick on in this season and it makes Dom want to sign a new deal. Again, there's still a lot of if, buts and maybes that surround this whole situation, and I do think that makes it a little bit harder to wiggle around. But yeah, I think right now, unless we get the 40 million we want, it's a good thing to keep Dom at the club, unless we can find a real quality striker to replace him, if I'm being honest. And some breaking news about the Iliman and Ndiaye deal. Everton and Marseille are close to agreeing a deal for Ndiaye. A few details are still to be resolved. That comes from Santi from Foot Mercato. Iliman Ndiaye is very close to Everton. The player has agreed to join the English club. Only a few details left to finalise. Marseille's not far from recovering the 20 million euros they paid for him. That comes from Abdella Bulma. So I think it's around £17 million, 20 million euros. I had a little look before I started recording. So I can imagine we've paid maybe £15 million, maybe a little bit less, £13-14 million for Ndiaye. I don't think that's necessarily a bad deal, to be honest, if we scroll down a little bit here. Also, Sky Sports have now mentioned the interest, but we also have run another poll, currently 340 votes as of this recording, about Iliman and Ndiaye to Everton. 70% have said yes, 25% have said no, and 25% have said maybe, 5% have said no. I think for a price like £15 million, and Ndiaye's someone who has experience in English football, his best of course being in the Championship, but we have seen lately with quite a lot of players who have performed at the top level in the Championship, who have been able to handle that move to the Premier League. You've seen it quite a lot in these past few years. So again, I think it's a smart move from Everton. And Fabrizio Romano has also confirmed Jack Harrison's loan to Everton. No option, but with a view to make it permanent in due course. Again, ran another poll, which has currently got 455 votes as of this recording. 80% have said 80% have said yes. 11% have said maybe, 9% have said no. Harrison's one where I've mentioned it. It's nothing spectacular, but again, I think it's a free loan. It's someone who knows the squad and can contribute to the squad. And is that squad depth options that we need? I think it's one of those where we really need depth, and I think it's a thing where, able to bring in that depth is something that is vital, to be honest with you, because all the best teams have depth. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll down a little bit. All the best teams have squad depth, and I think it's one of those where if you don't have that depth, what really are you going to offer? So I think, having such a thin squad, and especially you saw it the past few seasons, one or two injuries hit, kills the squad off, bad run of form. The biggest I can think of is that Ancelotti season where 3 or 4 players got injured at the same time in the squad, which looked to be in a Champions League or at least a Europa League race, fell apart and ended up finishing 10th. This isn't that squad, but it shows the importance of having squad depth. And I think bringing in Harrison, who I do think would have no problems coming off the bench, and also offers a squad option if we, for example, if we manage to go far in the Cup, I think it's a smart move from all around. Everton are also readying an approach for Newcastle United forward Wilfried Gnonto, who is keen on the move after Leeds' failed effort at promotion. That comes from P. O'Rourke. We heard all this last year, but I think it's a lot more promising in the sense that Leeds have failed to come up. Leeds are going to need money. Those parachute payments are going to start running dry eventually, and if they can't, and they're probably going to want to make some changes to the squad. Gnonto did contribute, especially in the second half of the season, where I really think he did improve. Again, I haven't watched a ton of Leeds, but in 36 games, he got 8 goals and 2 assists. The minutes do look a little bit limited, though, but if you go off his only 19 starts, but if you go off his per 90 starts at 0.44 non-penalty goals per 90, he would actually put him in the top 5% of European wingers in the top 5 leagues. Again, had a lot. Again, if you go on stuff like FB Ref, his stats really pop out, and I think that is one where I can imagine that it's going to be cheaper now, probably around the same price as Ndiaye, maybe closer to the 20 million mark. But Gnonto's still really young. We also are running a poll which has 1,700 votes on the channel currently. For Gnonto, 60% have said yes, 21% have said maybe, 20% have said no. Again, quite understandable why it's been like that. Again, because he's been in the Championship, but I do think, again, he showed real promise in the Premier League when Leeds were up, has performed in the Championship in limited minutes, getting, I think I mentioned, 10 goal involvements in 19 starts. But use more of a bench player, but I think that is mainly not got anything to do with his talent and more got to do with Leeds finding a settled system that worked in the long run. But now we're getting on to the classic bit of Jarrad Branthwaite news. Joe Thomas has reported that Everton look set to be tested by another bid for Jarrad Branthwaite, with Man United understood to still be heavily interested. Everton deemed an opening bid of £35 million plus add-ons as unacceptable. Branthwaite is valued around double the initial offer, and Fabrizio Romano also reported that United will internally discuss Jarrad Branthwaite this week. The defender is waiting and wants to come to some. Again, my big problem with Fabrizio Romano, to be honest with you, is a great journalist, but I also feel like there are clear agents involved in trying to unsettle players. I think it's blatantly obvious what he tries to do. I think it's blatant. I think it's it's hard to really judge. I think it's blatant. Like I said, I don't want to say anything out of things because I do think he's a good journalist, but I think it's a bit obvious what's going on. Again, obviously Jarrad Branthwaite is probably interested in the move. Let's be realistic here that, yeah, he's probably interested in the move. He wants to make that step up and going from no European football to playing Europa League at a club the size of United. Of course it is, but there's also much more reliable sources have come out and said that he also is happy to stay if we are not given the price we want. So I wouldn't panic too much about this. Like, for example, don't expect Branthwaite to suddenly kick up a fuss and say he's not going to play for the club if he don't get his way. That's not going to happen. It's just one of those where he's just trying to unsettle the player, to be honest. But moving on to some Everton women news, as of course the transfer window has opened for the Women's Super League today, I believe. Everton are set to sign Nigerian forward Tony Payne and Spanish midfielder Iliman from Sevilla's women's team, and that comes from Tom Gary. So again, not a big expert on Spanish women's football, but from what I've seen on FB Ref, Tony got 6 goals and 4 assists in 30 games, and Inma got 6 goals and 2 assists in 29 games, and seems to be more of a box-to-box option. There may be something will come out about these a little later. I'm not the biggest expert, but again, from what I've read, looks quite promising for both of them, and it is nice to see some ambitious moves from the women's side. And finally, a bit of academy news. 16-year-old centre-back Aaron Appiah has signed a contract with Newcastle United after leaving Everton, and that comes from the Secret Scout. Again, don't know much about him. Again, if you want to learn more, there's probably a lot more out there that can offer a lot more insight than I can on these, because again, I'm not much of an expert on the academy. But that is all for today. A lot of news today. Hopefully that's it for now, at least. Bit overwhelming how much news has come in. But yeah, thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed and at the Toffee Blues. And follow me on Twitter at Callum Branthwaite. And I'll see you all for the next video and or live stream that I'm on. Goodbye, everyone.